I still remember the first time I truly understood the gravity of hell, not as a distant abstract warning, but as a tangible reality foretold by the mystics and saints of our church. In quiet moments of prayer and study, I began to piece together the prophetic words handed down by those who had encountered the divine mysteries. Their warnings were not meant to frighten the faithful for the sake of fear alone, but to ignite a sincere and urgent call to repentance. As I pored over ancient texts and listened to testimonies of visions, I could not help but be moved by the resolute conviction with which these holy men and women proclaim that hell is real and that its fires await those who stray from the path of grace. One such saint was Saint Faustina Kowalska, whose revelations of the divine mercy painted a vivid picture of the eternal consequences of sin. In her diary, she recounted moments of deep sorrow for souls lost in darkness, and described hell as a place of unending torment, a state of separation from the warmth and love of God. Her writings, filled with both compassion and urgency, remind us that hell is not merely a punitive device, but the tragic result of a soul's unwillingness to embrace God's mercy. I found her words to be a somber, yet compassionate invitation to awaken from spiritual slumber and turn toward repentance. It was as if she wanted us to know that every prayer offered, every act of contrition, is a small light that can pierce the darkness. Another figure whose prophetic insight left an indelible mark on my understanding was Saint Padre Pio. Though known for his miraculous healings and the stigmata he bore, his warnings about the torments of hell were equally striking. In one of his many confessions, he spoke of souls he had seen in his prayers, suffering in a realm where the absence of divine love was a constant, excruciating pain. He described hell as a state where even the faintest remnant of hope is extinguished, replaced by an overwhelming sense of abandonment. His words resonated with those who have ever felt lost or adrift, serving as a reminder that every life is accountable to the ultimate measure of divine justice. Listening to his soft yet piercing voice, one could almost feel the weight of his concern for each soul that risked eternal separation from God. These prophecies from our Catholic saints are not isolated accounts or relics of an outdated era. Rather, they are living testimonies meant to guide us in the present. I recall attending a small candlelit prayer meeting where an elderly priest recited fragments of these sacred revelations. The flickering flames of the candles danced across the worn pages of his prayer book as he urged us to consider the eternal stakes of our earthly lives. He spoke of hell as a realm where the absence of prayer, the neglect of contrition, and the hardening of hearts could lead to irrevocable loss. His impassioned plea was simple yet profound, that we as a community must not take lightly the promise of redemption, nor the threat of damnation. What struck me most was not the gruesome imagery or the stern warnings, but the underlying message of hope embedded within these prophecies. Even as the saints warned of the horrors that awaited those who rejected God's love, they simultaneously offered a path toward salvation. They taught that hell, in its dreadful reality, serves as a stark reminder of the free will bestowed upon every human being. The choice is ours, to turn away from sin and embrace the boundless mercy of the Creator, or to persist in a life of selfishness and neglect, risking an eternity in darkness. In reflecting on these prophecies, I began to see my own spiritual journey in a new light. The words of Saint Faustina and Saint Padre Pio, along with the teachings of countless other saints, called me to a deeper commitment to prayer and intercession. I started to understand that our daily choices, no matter how small, are the building blocks of our eternal destiny. Each act of kindness, every sincere prayer, and every moment of genuine repentance contributes to a divine tapestry that can ultimately lead us out of darkness. One evening, as I sat in quiet meditation by a dimly lit window, I recalled a passage from one of the saints' writings describing the desperate pleas of souls in hell. He wrote of voices raised in anguish, crying out for mercy, for a chance to be lifted from their suffering by the intercession of the living. It was a heart-rending vision that compelled me to reevaluate how I lived my own life. In that moment, I promised myself to be a beacon of hope for others, to not only seek my own salvation, but to fervently pray for those who had lost their way. The vivid imagery of hell, as portrayed by our saints, is not meant to serve as a mere spectacle of terror, but as a clarion call to spiritual renewal. It is a reminder that while God's love is infinite, our neglect of it has eternal consequences. The prophecies urge us to look beyond the transient pleasures of this world and to invest in the everlasting life promised by the gospel. The pain of hell, as described by these holy visionaries, is a mirror reflecting the inner turmoil of a soul that has turned its back on divine grace. Their words echo across the centuries, imploring us to examine our hearts and to make amends before it is too late. I find solace in the notion that these prophetic insights are not solely meant to instill fear, but to inspire transformation. They serve as a testament to the relentless love of God, love so profound that even in the face of eternal punishment, He offers a path to redemption through sincere prayer and genuine repentance. The saints understood that our human condition is fraught with imperfection, yet they also believed in the possibility of divine mercy, overcoming even the gravest of sins. Their lives, marked by both suffering and miraculous conversions, stand as proof that no soul is beyond the reach of God's grace. The call to action embedded in these prophecies is both personal and communal. It is an invitation to each of us to live with a heightened awareness of our spiritual responsibilities. In our fast-paced modern world, where distractions abound and the ephemeral often takes precedence over the eternal, these warnings serve as a sober reminder of what is truly at stake. They compel us to pause, to reflect, and to pray not only for our own salvation, but for that of every soul burdened by sin and despair. In the quiet of the night, when the world seems to fall silent, the echoes of the saints' voices still resound. They remind us that hell is real, not as an abstract concept, but as a tangible consequence of our choice as a reality that can only be mitigated by the transformative power of God's mercy. As I continue on my own spiritual journey, I hold close the teachings of these holy men and women, allowing their prophecies to guide me toward a life filled with compassion, humility, and a relentless pursuit of grace. In sharing these reflections, I hope to spark within each listener a desire to seek the divine mercy that is always within reach. May we never forget that every prayer offered, every act of love extended, and every moment of true repentance has the power to alter the course of our eternal destiny. The saints, through their forewarnings and their lives of profound devotion, have shown us that hell is not an inevitable end, but a call to repentance, a challenge to rise above our shortcomings and to embrace the light of God's infinite love. Their prophecies, though steeped in the solemnity of divine judgment, ultimately point us toward hope, a hope that endures even in the midst of our deepest fears. In the end, it is this hope that sustains us, the knowledge that no matter how far we may stray, the loving mercy of our Creator is always waiting to welcome us home.